What's going on, fellow park enthusiasts? It's the Park Geeks here. It's Curt and Justin. And Curt's actually showing me around his home park, which is Great America here in Santa Clara, California.
Yep, this is a nice little park. I really like it a lot. Opened in 1976, and we're actually standing next to the Demon, which is one of the opening day rides. And behind me is another one of the oldest coasters in the park, is the Grizzly, opened in 1986.
Yeah, and you know, parks like this, they may not have huge in theming, but there is a charm to these things. And with that said, let's go see that charm.
Yep, all right.
All right, we just got off a Railblazer, and that thing is intense.
Yeah.
Now, because I got some footage here for you guys. Look at the track here. Notice how it looks like a monorail track. Compare that to another ride you'll be seeing here, Demon, and how there's, you know, support beams, there's multiple bars on it. But this was like almost like a monorail or a Hot Wheels track.
Yeah.
And the seating arrangement too is what's called, what was it called again?
Inline seating, single one car, all cars in a row. This is one of the original RMC Raptor Track coasters, opened in June of 2018. The first one was actually Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster, which opened at Fiesta, Texas, just a month earlier. I guess they wanted to get the credit for that. But this one's really, they're both the same rides. This one is a mirror image of the one in Fiesta, Texas, and it is just a little bit smaller. They made it a little bit more compact to fit into the space. Excellent ride. It's got a 90-degree drop on the first one. It's a short ride, but boy is it intense. It's just one thing after another. The elements just come right at you consecutively. There's no block brakes, no trim brakes. It's a solid run from beginning to end. Just an excellent ride.
Yeah, I will say if there's one flaw that the ride does have is that because it's an inline track, you do have to sit with your legs spread apart quite a bit. It can lead to some discomfort if you're in there too long, but because the ride is short, unless you get stuck, you're pretty much fine. All right, this is what I'm talking about when I said your legs are pretty far spread apart. Yeah, up here, not so much, but when you get down here, you can see how much wider this beam here goes. And because it's some more spread out here on the bottom, you can feel some mild cramping right here on your legs.
Yeah.
It's worth the discomfort. So a definitely must try ride. And I also have since found out that that this is also called an ejector coaster, just like Icebreaker was at SeaWorld. That's the correct terminology I learned. And the comfort color on that is way better. All right, so let's actually check out the Patriot.
All right.
All right, we just got off the Patriot, and in case you're wondering why we're filming against the same background, it's because there's music playing all over the place. This is one of the few quiet places in the park. But anyway, the Patriot, what I liked about it was it's a floorless coaster. And sure, you've seen this before, like with the coasters you hang down from. But the real negative aspect of those coasters is that you can't see in front of you unless you're in the first row. But with this, you get that same feet dangling effect, but you can actually see. And you were actually telling me that wasn't the original seating setup.
Right, exactly. Yeah, this was when the coaster opened in 1991. Originally opened as a stand-up coaster, a B&M stand-up coaster called Vortex. And it ran that way for many, many years. And in 2017, the park decided to convert it to a floorless sit-down coaster. I believe the main reason was it's a bit more comfortable for the guests. Stand-up coasters were kind of cool for the time, but they're kind of uncomfortable. At least I think many people think they're kind of uncomfortable to ride. Very, very much a novelty item, and I think the novelty kind of from the 90s kind of wore off, and the park decided they needed something new to give it some new life. And I think the floorless conversion was an excellent idea. That really brought a lot of life back to that coaster. Very fun ride. If you've ridden other B&M coasters of similar design, particularly I think of like the Hulk at Universal in particular, it kind of has that feel to it. Those types of pacing and inversions. Of course, this is a much smaller park, so the ride is shorter, nowhere near as tall as Hulk. They can't compete in that way, but you can definitely tell it's the same manufacturer. It gives you that same kind of fun ride to it. So I really like Patriot.
Yeah, it's short, but despite that, it's very sweet. So that's how we can sum that ride up. Short, but sweet.
Yeah, good ride.
All right, now let's check out Demon.
All right.
Oh, yeah. All right,
There it is.
yeah, we just got off of Demon, and you can see it right there behind us. And this was actually a lot of fun. I love all the loops, the twists, and the turns. And I gotta give them some credit here. There was actually some pretty good theming on this ride. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, they added a little bit in. It kind of it lagged over the years, but they put some back in the tunnels. Made a little more interest to the ride.
Yeah, and you even told me that there was at one point a fireball that would go off during a certain section.
Yes.
And they sadly got rid of that.
Yeah, it was only temporary. It was for the Halloween event one year. They did that. They had a fireball that went off just as you were heading into the corkscrew section of the park. But I think they only did that 1 year, to my knowledge. It's kind of a special thing they did.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because roller coasters, I think, do have potential for when it comes to theming, but trying to do it outdoors is a bit difficult. I mean, like if you guys have ever done the Mummy or the Aerosmith coaster,
oh, yeah,
those have incredible theming because they're indoors.
Yeah.
But outdoors is a bit more tricky, and for this, they actually had some good ideas. I would have liked to have seen them gone further with it.
Yeah.
But I will say, with some of these loops, brace yourself, especially your neck, because if you will feel a bit of a whiplash if you're not prepared.
It's an arrow coaster. People who've ridden arrow coasters, everybody knows about that. They can be a little bit rough, but it's a classic ride from the period. This actually opened in the opening month of the park in 1976. This ride has been here all that time. It was in a slightly different form originally. It originally opened as a ride called Turn of the Century, and it had 2 corkscrews in it. And in 1980, they took out one of the first corkscrew, and they put in a dual vertical loop, which made the ride a lot more interesting and a lot more fun. And I think that's why the ride survived this long. It's got a nice variety. It's got the 2 loops. It's got a little tunnel at the beginning, a little tunnel mid-course, and it's got the corkscrew down through you go through the little Skull Mountain thing at the end, and then at the end of the ride. So it's got a nice little variety. Very, very classic arrow ride. Other little piece of trivia is that this is the same ride can be found at the Six Flags version of Great America. Originally both created by Marriott back in the day, and they ended up getting sold off to different companies. So the one in Illinois is now a Six Flags park, and they actually have the same ride. And they did the same thing. They converted it from, it's called originally Turn of the Century, and they converted it into this version called the Demon, they added the loops in. Same ride at both parks, and they both are running today.
All right, so this is definitely a fun ride. It is.
Classic.
Yeah, and by the same person who did Python, right?
Busch Gardens, Tampa, right? You're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, that's another arrow coaster.
Yeah, so a lot of fun. So now let's check out that wooden coaster you told me about. Not this one. We'll talk about this one later. But
Oh, yeah, Gold Striker.
oh, God.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Let's check it out. All right, we just got off a Gold Striker here, and wow.
Yeah, that's a good one.
This was intense. I mean, I was not expecting that for a wooden roller coaster. Now, for starters, for one thing, this thing is loud. I mean, listen for yourself. God, that thing is loud. And not to mention just how big this ride is. I mean, we actually got an aerial shot of the ride, thanks to that huge tower you see back there. And I mean, just see it for yourself. Look how huge this thing is. It's massive. And the other thing too is that there's like no brakes on this thing whatsoever.
Yep. No trim brakes, no block brakes, and almost 3,200 feet of track. Ride time of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. This is a really good length ride. It just never lets up. There's just no dead spots on the ride at all. Twister style ride, so it's crossing over and under and through itself constantly. I once counted the number of crossovers. I actually forget what the number is. It's something like a dozen times you're either going over or under another piece of track. It's really ridiculous. Really a lot of fun. It's a great ride made by Great Coasters International. It's been here almost 10 years. It opened in 2013. This is actually my personal favorite wood coaster in California. And I think I would have to say in the entire Western US, I think, as far as my favorite wood coaster.
And if you guys remember what I said in one of my screencasts, the rule is if a ride impresses me, I have to buy some merch. It impressed me. All right, let's check out that next door coaster, Grizzly.
Yeah, okay.
All right. What was that? I mean,
Yeah.
do you realize?
What a difference.
Do you realize how hard you have to work to make a roller coaster tame?
Yeah.
Okay, a Python at Busch Gardens in Tampa was better than this, and that coaster's gone.
Yeah, and what's a shame is this is actually based on a good ride. This is based the same design, more or less, as Grizzly at Kings Dominion in Virginia, which was their first. That was actually a good coaster. Certainly back in the day when it originally opened, it was fast and fun. It had a tunnel in it. It was built inside in the woods, in a wooded area of the park, so you're flying through the trees all around you. And it was a really fun ride, really great one. But according to what I heard, when this park wanted a copy of it, they said, "Oh, we want to tame it. We want more of a family ride." And okay, they got it. They got more of a family ride, and it's just kind of a shame. But it's actually it has a credit. It has it's the longest track length of coasters in the park. So there is that if you want the longest ride. But the train just kind of plods around the track. I will give the park a little bit of credit. They did do some retracking several years ago and improved the smoothness of it. There was a period there where the ride was like riding on a washboard. That was pretty bad. But yeah, if you want a more family ride experience, this would be the one. You take the people who aren't quite ready for a Gold Striker. Yeah. Well, it says it has a top speed of 50, which I find hard to believe. Maybe just on the first drop, I think you might momentarily get to 50. The first drop is actually okay, in my opinion, on that ride, but you go up the hill and you lose all your energy at the top of the hill, and you just crawl around the fan turn at the top of the second drop. And it's just like rolling on. Okay, when are we going to go down?
All right, let's go ahead and check out Flight Deck. I hope that's better.
Yeah, really, that will be.
Well, that was much better.
Oh yeah, that was way better. I like that one.
Yeah, I did too. It actually has this pretty cool theming of like military planes going off.
Yep, aircraft carrier.
Yeah, and you even told me that it was originally a Top Gun themed ride.
Exactly. Yeah, because for a brief period of time, Paramount owned this park, and they put all their movie IP in here, and they themed the ride accordingly, and that was the Top Gun ride, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was really nice. They don't do it anymore, but there was all sorts of sound effects. You could hear all the communications chatter while you're waiting in the queue line, just like would be on an aircraft, just like you saw in the movie. It was all really cool and help amp everything up. Unfortunately, they've kind of let that all go away. The thing I really liked back when they first opened the ride is they had the ride operators were in aircraft carrier flight deck uniforms.
Really?
And they would, it was really fun. They had fun with it, and they would, the operator, when they clear the ride to go, and they would salute you as you go out, and they would give you the motion, clear to go, like for the catapult launch on the aircraft carrier. And the ride-offs were really into it and made it a lot more fun. They had a little bit of steam comes up on the platform, and the platform goes down, just like the catapult launch you see in the movie. For a long time that didn't work, but we just noticed now they brought it back. The steam, the smoke effect, the steam was working. I really kind of like that.
Yeah, and the ending too was really cool because you're like maybe 4 feet above the water, and it makes you appreciate just how fast you go on these things.
Well, that final, the second half of the ride, after you come with a lot of people don't know that's back there. I've been on the ride a number of times with people. They says, wait a minute, there's a whole other half of the ride here because you can't see that from the queue line. Mm-hmm. If you're not really looking, you don't see it. They go over the back of the ride and there's another flip, and then there's this helix over the water, and that really surprises a lot of people. They thought the ride just went around and ended at that point. I love that. Like you said, the helix over the water is excellent. That's definitely the way to do it.
Now, if you guys remember earlier in this video, I talked about how those roller coasters that you hang down from, unless you're sitting in the front, you don't see anything. And I took some footage here. You see what I mean, people? Unless you're sitting in the front, you can't see anything. It's one of the benefits the floorless coasters have. Yeah, see what I mean? This is why I like those floorless coasters. You still get the effect of your feet dangling, but you can see in front of you.
Yeah, but of course you have to see the same thing. The front row is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that, aside from bringing back the Top Gun theming, the only thing that would have made this thing better is if they were playing Danger Zone while you're on the ride. All right, so let's go ahead and check out that Psycho Mouse thing.
Yep, Wild Mouse ride.
All right, listen. Well, sadly, it was closed. But however, you've done that ride before.
Yep, I've ridden a number of times. Yeah, yep.
And I've seen these kind of coasters before, and they seem to be all the same. It just seems to be like, go from left to right. Sometimes it spins, but you said that's not the case.
Yeah, well, they certainly have a lot of common elements. I mean, the classic wild mouse ride always starts out with a really sharp switchback turns. So you'll see that in almost every one. And then there's usually some dips afterwards. But you can have, this is a non-spinning version made by Arrow. It's adequately good. It's nothing really special in my opinion. They do have the spinning rides. But as far as wild mouse rides, the ones you can't beat, which unfortunately you can't find anymore, is the really old wooden ones. Those were out of this world. I was lucky enough to be able to ride one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in England. Unfortunately, they took it out just like in the last 2 years. It really bummed me out when I found out about that. Excellent ride. It's wood. It's like riding a wood coaster, but it's a wild mouse. And they have little single, it's one passenger cars, maybe adult, parent with a child maybe could ride this. Teeny tiny little cars. And you're riding by yourself, and the beams are just like barely clearing you. You're going through the structures. Like, wow, this is like really close clearances here. And there's actually going up the lift hill of this particular one. There was one of the beams you pass under is so close they put padding on it.
Oh.
So you wouldn't have to hit your head on it.
That's action park territory, people.
And it was, I mean, I just can't talk about how excellent that ride was. You really felt that thing was going to fall apart. You're going to fly off the track at any moment, which is what you want, which is what a wild mouse is supposed to be. You're supposed to feel like you're going to fly off the track at any given moment. And there was 2 of them in England. Both of them are gone, sadly. I believe there was actually one at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, and unfortunately that went away, I think decades ago. I never got a chance to ride it. That's a real shame. If there's one type of ride I would like to see come back is the wooden wild mouse ride.
Okay, now before this day comes to an end, I actually saw, oddly enough, a Mass Effect attraction here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the games, but this I'm curious to see.
Unique. Very unique.
Because, like, everything else seems to be its own original IP, but this is a very well-established one in a park like this.
Yep.
So, let's see what that's like.
Yep, okay.
All right, we just got off of Mass Effect New Earth, and I was very impressed by this thing.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, because if you remember in our first Streamcast, we talked about, what really constitutes a 4D attraction, and because we kind of bounced back and forth whether or not it was sense or feels.
Or water spraying water at you.
Yeah, and this ride has that, but there's actually another element that they have. There's a live pilot with you. And he is performing with everything that's on screen.
Yep.
The creatures, the characters, the flights. I think that is what's going to constitute a 4D attraction. And you could say that it's like, would you say it's maybe a early version of the Bourne Stuntacular?
Yeah, it sort of has a similar idea. They're using a giant 60-foot 4K video screen sort of as a virtual set technology. In this particular case, it's just you're looking out the viewport of the spaceship, but just having that scale of it is kind of like going in that direction.
And it does say there's like holographs in there, but it's really not. It's
3D glasses technology.
Yeah, but it's still very effective.
Yeah, it looks with the 3D glasses, it looks like you're doing holograms. Yes.
Yeah, and like I said, you do get feels on this thing. Okay,
yes.
You do get the sense of the feel of air blowing past you.
Leg ticklers.
That's what it's called, and even butt ticklers.
Yeah, they got the butt ticklers on this one. Yeah, they got some little actuators in the seat to give you a little extra sensation of motion and whatnot.
But it's effective. That's the thing. It actually works. And there are some nauseating scents.
Yeah, there's one that's pretty bad. Hopefully you're not going to lose your lunch on that one, but you almost could.
So I gotta say, this is a very unique attraction to have. Again, like I said, especially at a park like this.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it, but it's kind of a bold move, I think.
Yeah.
For them to add an attraction like that, and I really like it. I think they nailed it for what it should be.
Yeah, and honestly, it makes me want to try the games. I'm not the world's biggest gamer. There's definitely games I do like, but now I'm curious to actually play it.
Yeah. Find out the rest of the lore and everything, huh?
Yeah. So anyway, on to our final conclusion. Well, our time here at Great America, California has come to an end.
Yep,
and
end of the day.
And I gotta say, this may not have the giant IPs like we have down in Orlando.
Right.
But there's something about these types of parks that have a very good charm to them.
Yeah, these regional parks can be really nice.
Yeah, I mean, it may not you may not be in like the world of Harry Potter or Jurassic World, but this is pure Americana. It's very laid back. I mean, when you get on a ride at Universal, you definitely wanted to just get right back on if you could. But with an hour wait time, not going to happen.
Or more. I mean, I saw when I was there last, Hagrid's was up to 180 minutes at one point.
I mean, not that it's not worth it. It is a great ride.
It is a good ride, but 180 minutes?
But with this, you can get right back on.
Yeah.
No time whatsoever.
There's a good portion of the year where this park is pretty laid back, much less intense, much less hectic than if you're going to Universal or Disney. It's kind of nice from that point of view, even though they don't have, the big rides. Like, you're not going to find like a Spider-Man ride here or anything like that. But what they have, though, is great. And they have some really nice festivals throughout the year. They've got some great New Orleans festival with food and entertainment. They got a fantastic Christmas event. I love it. I come as many times as I can. During December, whenever that's our rainy season here, so unfortunately it gets rained out a few times. But I get here as much as I can for that event. Love it. Until recently, they had a great Halloween event. Unfortunately, they're transitioning to an all ages kind of no scare event. I'm not really sure how that's going to turn out. That's my only disappointment really with this park, is when they announced they're ending the Halloween Haunt event.
Yeah,
I don't know what their thinking is on that. Seemed to always be popular to me, but I guess they want to try something more all ages, I guess, and we'll see. I guess they think we'll make more money with that. I'm not sure.
But all in all, I would have to say that Great America, California gets the Park Geeks seal of approval.
Yep.
Come here and check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Yep.